All right, and we are back. Episode 31 of Box to Box. As those of you who are returning visitors and guests, you already know who I am. If you don't know who I am, my name is Jose Tejas. I am the primary host of Box to Box. I am typically joined by my mainstay co-hosts, Andre and Alina. One's got school, one's got work. Again, I'm here to hold the fort down. It is what it is. But I am not alone. As always the case, we want to bring you guys as much value as we possibly can from the broader soccer world and spectrum. And I couldn't think of anybody better to have on this show today. I'm going to introduce him here in one quick sec. But before we get there, guys, as always, if you can, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. It really does help more than you know. And as always, Box to Box is presented by GOLZtv. GOLZtv is live today. Head to GOLZtv for all of your free unlimited footy content. You're going to be seeing Next Gen Football and Rave Green TV videos there very, very soon. Now, introducing our guest. I don't want to call him the voice of the soccer fan of the Pac Northwest, but maybe we'll hype him up to the point where he is. He is the host of Next Generation Football, the host of Rave Green TV. There's going to be a ton of funny and entertaining as hell content hitting his channels as the MLS season unfolds. Please welcome to the show, Shauyan Noorfeshan. Shauyan, thank you so much for being here, bro. I want to tell your story. We've been texting about this for a few weeks now. But before we jump into some of those stories, let me just ask, man, how are you? How are you after opening weekend of MLS, knowing how the Sounders performed?
I'm really happy. First and foremost, thank you so much for that introduction. Really means a lot. But yeah, no, I'm feeling good. I'm really happy MLS is back, and I'm happy I'm making videos again. And no, can't complain. You win 4-0. Granted, 3 or 4 of those goals were 1-yard headers. Very impressive stuff by the team. But you know, you get what you get, and you don't throw a fit.
You take it. You take it. As someone, look, as an SC Dallas fan who just had to watch us, completely have a lack of breakdown ability and not get a single goal, hardly any, shots on target for that matter. I will take 4 1-yard headers all day, every day. But we're not here to talk about how upset I am with SC Dallas. We're here to talk about you. I want to jump into a question that I think most of our viewers already know when it comes to this channel. And I think it's an opportunity for you to, for those who haven't seen Next Gen Football, for those who haven't tuned into Rave Green TV, just a great opportunity for you to maybe just describe who you are and what you're all about. Shauyan, who are you today?
Who am I today? That is a great question, because sometimes I don't even know who I am today. I'm just, I think I'm just kind of a journeyman trying to spread the love for football when it comes to the Seattle Sounders, MLS, North American football, and then as well Iranian football. I think those were always like my passions growing up, specifically like MLS, the Sounders, and Iran, just because, I'm from Seattle. I am Iranian, and so it kind of goes all hand in hand together. But I'm just kind of this journeyman trying to figure out life, and I just like meeting people and talking about football. And I guess I'm kind of a content creator, not to toot my own horn, but I'm just a guy that's just trying to do my best in life.
Yeah, man. That's a great answer to that question. I think if anybody else has tuned in some of the previous episodes, that question will stumble the occasional guest on this show. And so now, man, I think it's a great synopsis of who you are and what you're all about. And let's not play down the content creator piece, man. You've been on the grind. You've been growing channels now, multiple, which is, I think, sometimes even more than most content creators can even think about handling. And you're out here, juggling both. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about the growth that you've seen on the channel and what you're kind of expecting as you continue to grow those. But dude, let's start from the very, very beginning. You grew up in the Pac Northwest in Washington State. I want to talk about just you as a fan. I know everyone's so used to getting maybe your hot MLS takes, maybe you going out there and getting the hottest fan reactions out there. But let's focus just on your journey for a minute. And I had to break this down in almost seasons, right? So let's start with the earliest season of all. You as a fan, dude, what was it like growing up before you were ever a content creator? What was it like growing up as a fan in Washington State that just had an appreciation for the beautiful game? And I don't know, how did that scale into even the thought of wanting to put content on the internet?
Yeah, so I grew up, I'm a first generation American to 2 Iranian parents. So as you guys would no for ethnic parents. You know, you got to go to school, you got to get straight A's, you got to be a doctor, lawyer, some type of or a dentist, some type of practice, you know. And so when I was growing up, sports weren't really much of a thing for me until I was like 11, 12, and then I got introduced to soccer. Obviously, I knew a little bit about the Iranian national team, because, you know, that was kind of the one time where the family got together and they were like, okay, we're all here together to watch Iran play at the World Cup. And I don't really remember much of it or any of it at all. But yeah, when I was 11 or 12, I got introduced to the sport very late on compared to anyone else. And then I just started watching soccer. And, you know, the first kind of, you know, I think when you first start watching the sport, you kind of go to like the Premier League and things like that. And I kind of was following along with Chelsea. At that time, it was Chelsea's Cinderella story winning the Champions League. And then I remember I watched that final. I was like, God, if this is what the sport is all about, I want in on this. And so then I started following. I knew where I lived, we have a local team called the Seattle Sounders, and they were facing off against the LA Galaxy back in 2012. It was the first of 2 games in Seattle. I remember Eddie Johnson scored, and then there was just kind of just this one moment that sealed it for me, as weird as it was, when Freddie Montero banged in a shot from 35 yards out, and I was like, holy smokes.
The Freddie Montero days.
Yep, the prime Freddie Montero days. And I was like, I like that man, and I like this team. And then I remember later on that year, I went to my first Sounders game. Front row seats my dad bought me for my birthday, and it was around as I said, around the time my birthday was. We played the LA Galaxy at home for the second time, and we won 4-0 in that game.
Wow!
And then that's kind of how it all started from there. I became a season ticket holder in 2013, and then I started following more of the Iranian national team, MLS. Obviously, I watched European football, mainly the Premier League, and you know, that's kind of how my love began. And I was never someone that was super popular in school, because all I would want to do is talk about soccer, talk about football. And, you know, I think a lot of people always ask me is like, why don't you like the U.S.? Like, why did you never gravitate towards like the U.S. men's national team? And don't get me wrong, I like the U.S., like the U.S. national team. I loved it when they had Josie Altidore, Clint Dempsey. Like, I think about one game that really sticks in my head a lot was I think they had a friendly in 2013 or 14 against Germany. Ter Stegen scored that like crazy own goal and stuff. Like, I was a big fan of that.
Oh yeah,
that USA team back in that era. But for me, I just always gravitated more towards the Iranian national team, because that's where my family's from. Like, outside of being born here and growing up here, you know, the culture and the lifestyle I live in is more of an Iranian household more than anything. And so I kind of like the underdog a little bit too, because I think the USA, they're a little bit more fortunate with the accessibility, the opportunities they have in the sport. Because if you think it's kind of bad here, it's kind of even worse in Iran, with obviously because of many factors that go into that. And so I just gravitated a lot towards Iran, towards MLS, and with the Sounders, and it's kind of like it all kind of came together, and I kind of became like an MLS guru, because I wanted to understand this league so much, MLS. And honestly, for me, like 2013, 2014, MLS was kind of like prime MLS. You got players like Alan Gordon, Kenny Cooper, I don't know, Michael Azir, just kind of like these ragtag players that played in the league. And I don't know, I really liked it a lot. So I learned a lot more about the league and things like that. And then come fast forwarding, now we're making a big time jump to 2018, 19. This is like the most inside scoop ever. Next Generation Football was actually never started by me. I was in college. This was my second year at the community college I was going to, and this guy who was a Tottenham fan, who was in my public speaking speech class. We would give presentations. Basically, you pick it, like she would give you like an outline of like what do we need to talk about, and then you make a speech about it. I remember one. I would never prepare for these things because I didn't mind. I was shy when I was younger, but then for some reason I just let everything go. I don't mind speaking in front of people. I don't mind talking to anybody I want to talk to. And in this class, I just give speeches about soccer-related things because I knew so much about it. So I remember one of them was like, you're going to be arguing for one side or the other. I remember it was like I did one for a Ronaldo or Messi.
Oh, God.
Yes. And so I would just give all these speeches. I wouldn't even practice them. I would have no outline. I just do them off the cuff. I just knew my topic and I just would do it. And usually I'd get like B's, high C's, low A's, and it all worked out. And I remember this guy, he came up to me, he's like, dude, I want to start a podcast. I was like, a podcast? Like, what's a podcast? I didn't know what a podcast was.
Dude, it was still super new back then. I mean, that idea was very revolutionary, just in theory.
Yeah, and so then he was like, I was like, what's a podcast and all that? I asked my friends, I was like, you guys know what a podcast is? He's like, yeah, dude, I'm kind of a little bit of a, people say I'm a bit of a boomer. Like, I just, I don't quite,
same.
I don't quite get lingo super well. And like, I'm kind of a little old fashioned, to be honest. And so then Next Generation Football podcast was started back in 2018-19, and we would just talk about the Premier League, a little bit about the MLS. And then the original host ended up he just didn't have the time to end up doing it. So then I took over. Next Generation Football was just a podcast. Come 2021 or 22, then I decided to make it into a YouTube channel, kick the boat around with that for a little bit. And then now it's come to fruition a bit more of what I want. Before it was kind of just vague soccer stuff, but now I'm talking about the stuff I want to talk about, where I talk about the MLS, I talk about CONCACAF football, and I talk about the Iranian national team. And that's kind of where the niches started coming in. So I talk about those various things, and I see, actually, a lot more people are more interested when I talk about these things, because I think it's where more my passion is. You could see where more of the emotion comes from, and comes more from the heart. And so then it became a channel, and now we're here with that. And then obviously when I was in England come 2022 or 21, I kind of keep forgetting. The
COVID years all blend together, in my opinion.
It does, yeah. And I went to England for the first time to go see the Premier League games and all that. And then I really wanted to get on Arsenal Fan TV. And then obviously there's that very iconic clip of me after the Manchester City Arsenal game, because I wore my Sounders jersey because I didn't know what else to wear, because I'm not an Arsenal fan. I'm not a City fan. I was just there for the kicks and giggles. Yeah. And obviously that clip came around. It went around a fair amount. And then I decided there was kind of a market in Seattle where there's not any voice for the Seattle Sounders, no fan channel, there's no nothing. Obviously, we have like Sounders at Heart, who is more of an article-based thing. We have reporters and things like that, but there's no one that actually talks about this team. And so with that clip came a lot of attention towards me, and I was like, I'm going to start a fan channel for the Sounders going into the 2022 season. And so that's how Rave Green TV started. And then, now I'm here talking to you.
Now you're living the dream. Yeah, man, I think that's a really quick, even for the time you took to break that down, it's a really quick breakdown. But I want to go back to something you said in the earliest days, right? There's a couple things, but the first point I want to dig into is in the earliest days when you mentioned friends asked why maybe you didn't support U.S. men's national team versus the Iran national team. I've gotten that question regarding, and me, I'm actually very split. Because I was born in the U.S., but I am still technically I'm still first generation, but I have other cousins and aunts who were here before I was. And so technically, but from the earliest days, I've been here in the U.S., yet all of my lineage traces back to Mexico. And we grew up as a very, Mexican supportive team when it comes to L3. And so I always got the questions around, hey, Jose, you've been here for a long time. Obviously you're going to be in this country probably forever. Why don't you support U.S. men's national team? And it was never coming from a place of, dislike or hatred for the U.S. men's national team. I do support them, but when they play each other, it's so difficult for me to really pick one side over the other, because I feel strong roots to both. I mean, I don't know. Is it purely a cultural reason as to why you support Iran over U.S. men's national team, or I don't know? Was there an experience that just cemented Iran for you, or do your family roots just run that deep?
I think there's kind of a combination of things, to be honest. I was never, obviously my name isn't like a granola based name. It's Shauyan. It's actually a very common Iranian name, but it's not common here in the US. Well, how many Shayans does everyone know? Nobody. Most people. I just met my first funny story. I met the first other person that's named Shauyan when I was in San Francisco 4 years ago. I was alive for 19, 20 years. I have never met anyone with the same name as me. And so, I think that played a part, because no one could ever everyone would be like, dude, where are you from? Are you Indian and this and that? I'm like, no, man, come on. People needs to be a little bit more cultured. And then whenever I talk about soccer with my friends, it would be, them kind of just like I would always like bring up Iranian players. Like I'd be like, oh yeah, this guy's pretty good. They're like, no, like dude, he's nothing like Landon Donovan or Clint Dempsey or Casey Keller or Tim Howard and all that. And kind of like I was slightly like not ridiculed, but kind of like downplayed my Iranian players. Like, dude, this guy's great. Like, and we've had some really, arguably, Iran has had more historic players on the national scene than the U.S. Like, I mean, we have one guy, Ali Dai, held the record for the most international goals. Still, Cristiano Ronaldo had to ruin it for all of us. But like Iranian football it's very rich. It's very historic. And, you know, for me, I think just because of like how much I like when I spoke about him, I was like downplayed for it. Like, and like people would always boast around me, and I don't blame him because I lived in the U.S. Everyone always boasts about the USA, like, oh, like kind of like that friendly I mentioned, like, dude, we beat Germany in a friendly. Oh, we beat Spain in the Confederations Cup, and like all this. And I was kind of like, I guess cool, like, but like it's kind of like for me, it's like shouldn't you guys kind of have this expectation that you can be that team because you have the most modern facilities, you have the best athletes, you have the best possibility of playing the sport. But when you think of all these other countries, they don't really have as great of opportunities as the U.S. does with soccer. Granted, it's a young sport. That's the thing I'll give them credit for. It's a young sport. But for me, I just like, I don't know. For me, I guess, yes, part of the family thing. I feel like that's something I could really connect with my parents with, was talking about Iran and things like that. But, you know, I just always liked the underdog. And I just never liked I was kind of always teased like because of my skin color, my name, and like these various things. And so it made me more proud to be Iranian. And so I think since I loved football, soccer, and made it the Iranian national team helped me express that a lot more. And I just love each and every one of the players. Like I already knew I loved them before I met them, and I've been fortunate enough to now meet a few of the players. And if anything, it has reinforced my opinion about how these guys are probably I've met, not like this isn't me boasting, but I've met so many I've been fortunate to meet so many professional athletes in MLS, from the Sounders, everywhere. But every Iranian player that I met, granted, it could be because I'm Iranian. I don't know if that's the bias playing a part in that. They were the nicest people, most wholesome people, and just really wanted to get to know me and talk to me and like give me a moment I'll never forget when I came to go support them. So I think that always meant a little bit more to me than anything. I knew they were good people, and they always had good hearts, and they cared about their people. And so for me, I think that stuck out a lot.
It is. So you're basically saying it's a combination of kind of what I was referring to, right? It's cultural, it's your personal values, your family's values, it's experiences that you've had, whether it's with players on the national team or not, that all have kind of, built up this immense passion that you have for your national team. And look, I mean, it's kind of crazy when you do hear, I don't think American fans realize they do it as often as they do, right? Because the sport it's maybe a top 5 sport here in North America versus what it is everywhere else. I think they expect everyone to be very impressed with the fact that they've upset giants over time, right? Like Germany or Spain, like look at how long they've been playing versus us and how big their players are. We have MLS guys and on the one-off occasion, sure. Like in that one instance, on that one specific day, it's impressive. I will also say though, that like it takes more than any one-off match, I think, to impress a true fan who's watched enough matches to understand that that's the beauty of this game. On any given day, anybody can lose. I think we saw it in the World Cup, in the 2022 World Cup. And, it's impressive, but we also, I don't think anybody who knows the game truly isn't oversizing any team because of a one-off result, right? I think that part has to be very, very stated plainly that U.S. national team has made significant inroads. But considering how many resources they have at their disposal, you can argue that they should be significantly further along in the process of developing a true, development system around this game here in this country. We'll see what happens. I don't know. But being a Hispanic fan, dude, I being a Mexico fan as part of me, I always got that. You guys should beat us every time. So when the 2-0 came around, right, when 2-0 came along, I can't tell you how much I was ridiculed as a kid, right? Like, oh, it's the sport of your country. You guys can't even beat the U.S. I'm like, okay, bro. Like it is what it is. I just kind of move on.
Yes. You see, this is what I'm talking about. Like, I don't know, like, and the thing is, like, if you think about it too, for like those Mexican players, there's so much corruption and so much politics that plays such a big part in that Mexican national team. And the fact you guys have produced so many big players, and yeah, they had that one Dos Cero game. The thing is you go back to that, it was the 2002 World Cup. USA were not even that great in that World Cup. Like when you think about it, they almost blew a 3-goal lead against Portugal. And I think they got one tie against, I think it was South Korea. And then they lost the last game against Poland. And then all they did was beat Mexico. Granted, they were robbed against Germany. But, like, you think about that, I was like, you just beat a team within – I know it was in the World Cup, but you just beat another team from CONCACAF. When USA gets out of that CONCACAF bubble, things kind of change for them a little bit. Like, they're the top dog in CONCACAF. But then when they're out of that CONCACAF bubble – it's fine. It's just like a whole other discussion and like something I've been fighting for my rights for. That like again, I like the U.S. I love some of the players that they have, but it's just like kind of go over the top when like let Canada have their moment. They topped World Cup qualification. Probably is never going to happen. Maybe again for them. Just let them have their moment. But yet there's like all this like, oh Canada, you ain't shit. Like you guys didn't do anything and all that. I'm like. Why?
It's just not a big deal. I agree. I think that, considering how small CONCACAF is when you think about the broader, just spectrum of world football, I mean, to an extent, until we scale up our ability to chain results together internationally, why can't we somewhat support each other, right? Why can't we somewhat have Canada's back when they go out there and get results? Why can't we do the same thing for Mexico? And you're right. Mexico has a whole deep kind of underbelly of issues that nobody ever sees, especially if you don't follow Liga MX or you don't follow L3 and all the problems the federation causes for themselves. It's difficult. It's very, very difficult. But again, I will say that no matter what, I think that we should not be scared to have more of these conversations, regardless of how it's received across. I see so many channels talking about it, right? About U.S. men's national team. There's so many channels that are dedicated solely to that conversation. I'm sure the conversation we're having today would ruffle some feathers, but that's okay. I think that is our unique POV as an immigrant in this country or children of immigrants in this country supporting other teams outside of the U.S. men's national team. So I think it's completely okay. I also want to go back to one more thing I mentioned before that you talked about regarding, you mentioned the Chelsea. I remember the Chelsea 2012 Champions League final. I remember the semifinal because I'm a Barcelona fan.
Oh.
And yeah, I remember thinking, how the hell did Roberto Di Matteo pull this off? Like how did he beat Messi at the peak of his powers and like all of the supporting cast that came along with it? That's the beauty of this game. When you watch the Premier League back then and what MLS was back then, it's not anywhere to what it is now, a decade later. What were some of the biggest differences, man? Like you watching this as someone from a country where football reigns supreme. I mean, did you not get turned off by the product that we were developing at the time?
No, I absolutely. It's so funny. I put the MLS playoffs in the same bracket, not in regards to quality, but how I felt with the Champions League. Like I felt it was different. Like I was like, oh my God, like the MLS playoffs is so intense. There's like, it's one, because back then too, the playoffs was two legs, away goals. It was just like the Champions League. Yeah. I was like, damn, dude. And like watching like, the Champions League back then too. I was like, dude, you get that away goal. It was so hyped back then. It was like, oh my God.
You felt like you won the match. You could lose 2-1 away and you'd be like, dude, we won. We're going to win this tie. I'm not even worried about it.
Because it was so true. Like those away goals, man. And that was the same thing in MLS. I remember the San Jose Earthquakes. They were the Supporter Shield winners in 2012. Went up against the Galaxy in the first round, who had a pretty rough season for the most part. I already mentioned they lost to the Sounders twice during that year, and in pretty bad fashion. And the San Jose Earthquakes score a goal in the 90th minute on with a free kick, and I thought they were through. But then Galaxy go to San Jose and like slap them 3-1, and I was like those games. And it's the same thing in the Champions League and Premier League. Yeah, there's a gaping hole, but it's like I think people take it too harshly. Like take it with a grain of salt. That's where MLS is at. Nothing is a product right from the get-go. It takes time. Everyone wants that instant ratification. We're going to be this, we're going to be that. And like, I'm like, no, like just take everything with a grain of salt. Everything has its own beauty. Every league is a little bit different, and that's okay. Like there's nothing wrong with that. And I think the Premier League was drastically different than MLS, but I honestly felt the same amount of passion for when I watched the Champions League back then for the MLS playoffs. Like I loved the MLS playoffs. And it still is to this day my favorite time of the year. It's no longer even the Champions League for me too. It's literally just the MLS playoffs. I love that thing so much. I don't know if I'll love it as much come this year, but
let's talk about that really quick. How do you feel about the new format?
Terrible.
I thought, what is this, baseball? Like, what are we doing?
That's,
like,
that's what I'm saying. What is this, hockey, NBA?
Yeah, bro,
baseball?
what are we doing? So, okay, if you had to get in the minds of the commissioner...
Money.
So that's the sole driving factor.
Money.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's more games, more money. Apple TV deal, money. Like,
man, I mean, money, in my opinion, is short-lived. What's going to carry this sport is true fans being created and taking this game to the next level for not the next 10 years, the next 20, next 50, right? So I don't know. I mean, money, I agree you have to have it, especially as a league that wants to be successful long-term. But is there, in your opinion, is there any other way they could have done this without recreating a playoff structure from other franchise professional leagues?
they didn't need to change it. That's just the simple thing. They didn't need to change it. Like, if they wanted to expand it from 7 teams to 8 teams, that's fine. But from 7 teams to 9 teams, then to a wild card game that has no extra time, then to a best of 3 series with no extra time, and they're like, okay, we'll go back to the normal winner go home format after that. Why?
It sounds so ridiculous. Like, hearing you break it down, I'm like, dude, this is so dumb.
And the fact they got rid of extra time too is kind of weird to me.
Yeah,
because you think about some of like the best, like some of the like most iconic moments in MLS history, where some of them were in extra time in the playoffs. Like, one that recently comes to mind is Jacob Glesnes' banger from the 120th minute when Philly beat the Red Bulls.
Yeah,
that was in the extra time. So you're going to remove those moments because you want the Pens. It's very American, you know. You want to get it to the last kick of the game. You want it to be from the spot. Like, no.
At least make the Pens what they used to be for MLS, right? Like the dribble ups, the 35-yard dribble ups. Like, I remember doing those in high school when I played back in like from 05 to 09. I remember doing those, and it was like, I don't know. To me, those are more exciting than standard penalty kicks because there's just way more chance involved, right? Like, me being a defender my whole life, like going up there trying to take one of these dribble ups and get it completed in 5 seconds. I don't know. It was like such a mental game that I don't think penalty kicks will ever mirror or match from that perspective. And I think if you're a new casual fan, it doesn't look so easy, right? I think so often moments like that are discounted, penalty kicks, because it's straightforward 12-yard shot.
When my mom comes to watch penalty, that's when she sometimes comes and watches games with me. She like sees it's in penalties, like, oh, I'll come watch this. I was like, okay. She's like, how did this guy dive the wrong way? Like, why did he go to the left? Why did it look so easy? Like, what an idiot! Like, that's a very like the Persian mentality right there. It's like, what an idiot! Like, he dove the wrong way. What is he doing? He kicked it the other way. And I agree with that.
But you move them 25 yards back, and they're like, oh, it's so much more difficult. And I'm like, okay, at least it's a little more exciting from that standpoint. But like either way, I just didn't think it needed. I don't know.
No.
Are we not happy with how crazy the MLS season was last season? Are we not happy with how playoffs ended, with MLS Cup, with everything that took place, how much excitement and drama there was at the end, how much growth we saw collectively across the entire season? It's like we're taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back. Like, I don't understand the need for the change.
You phrased that perfectly. It is literally that. That is the problem. If it ain't broken, don't fix it, but we know the answer. Like, that's my point. Like, we all were okay with it. Like, obviously there's still those like little people that are like, man, the two series were so much better. And I'm slightly in that boat. I like the 2 series, but I understand. But the thing is, I understand more why they did the single games, because it rewards the teams in the regular season because you get to host the games. I understood that. I was like,
yep.
I see the point in that. But this, doesn't make sense. I don't understand.
It's such an obvious money play. It's almost like disrespectful to the fan base. Like, dude, you're not even going to hide it. You're not even going to hide it. Like, okay, cool. It's just in plain daylight for everybody to see. Like, all right, great. So this is a money grab. Got it. But yeah, I asking that question because we don't ask it often enough. I think because MLS is a growing league, we call it experimentation and call it a day, right? Like, okay, cool. It's another thing we're trying out. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. But let's try to keep supporting the league. I don't know. I think it's really interesting, but I 100% agree with you, man. I think it's a money play. We'll see what happens. Going back to the market you live in, Seattle, and supporting, what was once upon a time, right, 10 plus years ago, a new expansion team in the MLS. And you mentioned we talked a lot about today about, fan expectations, reactions, asking questions, right, as to what our motivations are for who we support, why we support them. When you think about everything that you're pouring into your channel for Seattle and why you launched that channel, I mean, when you get those reactions for Rave Green TV, And I had to imagine that in the earliest days of your channel, the reactions had to be like off the wall, right? Like some people were probably very positive about the Sounders and everything you guys were building at the time. I could only imagine what it would have been like in the earliest days of the Sounders had you launched it back then, right? And like day one, what's it like to have an expansion team, much like we are Austin TV and what they do. But what was it like, man? Just like interacting with fans at that level. And I don't know, what were their expectations as you were continuing to grow the channel and as the Seattle Sounders fan base was kind of growing?
That's a good question because I'm not totally sure. It's not like we're Austin TV. They were fortunate enough because they started when their team started. Sounders were already basically 10, 11, 12 years into their cycles. They were an established team. 2 MLS Cup wins. They were in 4 finals. Fun fact, I was at both the finals that we won. I was not at the 2 that we lost. Is
so
that
even back in like, what was it, 2016?
Yep, I was there in Toronto, baby.
Wow. That's awesome. I love that.
I am that guy. I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, so how off the wall were the reactions, man? Like 10 plus years in. I mean, I remember Ednan, if anybody here watched the, the episode we just did with We Are Austin TV and Ednan, and he mentioned how crazy the expectations were. It's almost like MLS and American fans didn't understand that expansion teams don't see success right off the bat, that there were people calling for Wolf's Head in year 1.
I know.
Right?
I was in those Twitter spaces when that was happening, and then I have to hop in, and I'd be like, "Whoa, everybody, calm down. It's okay." I kept telling everybody,
season 1. It's inaugural season.
I know.
Why,
I was like,
why
dude,
are we calling for this?
There's a reason why the Sounders are known as the team that sets the bar for MLS because all they did was, it's still pretty good, but they won an Open Cup and made the playoffs. That's it. That's all they did. All Austin did that was just worse is they didn't make the playoffs and they didn't win any trophies. That's just one tier below both of those things. But then the next year, you were 1 game away from an MLS Cup. Like, I don't know. Obviously there's clear progress. And I told fans, I was like, don't worry, season 2, you guys are going to be that guy. And as I put on my prediction God hat and I said that, I didn't think they were going to be that good, but they were way better than I thought. I knew they were going to make the playoffs. I knew they were going to be a team to reckon with. I knew Jerussi was going to be – I thought he was going to win the MVP. I said it before anyone else did, and I was hard judged by that. He should have won it.
It was a popular opinion by the end of the season.
Yes, it was. I know. I was there early doors. I was there early doors. But, with the Sounders, we were already an established team. 2022 came off of a disappointing year where – we were really good in the regular season, and then we got bounced in the first round to Salt Lake. I wasn't really surprised because we didn't win our last 10 games, and that's usually like the rigid formula. Like I've been watching MLS long enough to know I was like, yep, we're getting bounced out first. Like Salt Lake's the team that's like down bad. They're the underdog. Sounders they're the higher seed team. They haven't won in a while. They're just gonna park the bus. And like personally for me, I wasn't even mad. Like people were mad at Ochoa. He was the goalkeeper for Salt Lake at the time for time stalling and doing this. I was like, okay, let's think about it here. If we were in his shoes, we would do the same thing. Yep. And like, you can't blame him. We're not scoring. We're not making opportunities. If we scored early on, we wouldn't be in this problem. And so we get bounced out. And then kind of the big thing, what really boosted our channel was the CCL stuff. Mm-hmm. That's what really put us on the map. So we won CCL and all that. Really good. Everyone was kind of on board with Rave Green TV. Lickety split. And then when before I kind of excused the bad results in MLS early on. I kind of excused it because I'm not a guy that likes making too many excuses, but I let it slide. And then we started keeping on losing, and I was like, okay, this has got to stop. And so then I started I started saying the things that needed to be said, and people weren't really happy about it. And then certain fans came on. Some agreed with me. Some were just like, oh, it's okay. We won CCL and things like that. And early on, actually, if anything, more of our reactions were a lot of new soccer fans that we had on. A lot of people just kind of saying the same thing where it's like, it's okay. We won CCL. And then a lot more of then there were some people, and I think I've made not a cult, because a cult's a bit of a strong word, but a lot of my following kind of sees what I see now. Where they're like, some players just shouldn't be playing for this team. There's a lot of missing pieces. So I feel like what I'm really happy about is I've changed people's mindset. Not like this sounds so bad, not in a brainwashing way, but I'm like, okay, guys, like, honestly, though, there's like a lot of players on this team that shouldn't be playing on this team. We need to sell certain players. We're playing the same tactics as we always do. And a lot of people weren't happy about that. And I think that I got a little bit of negativity to that. Like, people were like, oh, this guy's always negative. This guy always brings out negative stuff. Because then people were saying that, and it would translate to me. And I was like, dude, I didn't even say it. I just held the microphone, and they're like, look what this guy said. And obviously I said things too, and that's fine. Blame me for the things I said. But it's like, kind of like, so like, there's obviously that small/loud minority, which what I mean by small/loud minority that don't like the stuff I do is actually our supporters group. So this is kind of a little bit of a scoop. The supporters group doesn't like the stuff I do.
Is it because it's solely perceived as negative or toxic, or like, what is it?
If I'm going to be totally honest, I don't know exactly. I've never spoken to anyone. I'm not someone that sits in the supporters group. I'm not much of a supporters group guy. I like sitting down. If you can kind of get the gist of it, I kind of like sitting down. I like watching the game. I like seeing it through my lens. I don't like, oh, Seattle Sound or da-da-da-da. That was an actual chant. Sorry, I butchered if people get mad at me about that. But I don't like chanting. I'm not really that much of a guy. I like sitting down, getting a nice bottle of water, drinking that, seeing the boys do what they have to do, and then I get to talk about my dad or with my friends. But obviously now it's with Rave Green TV.
Yep.
And I don't know. I guess certain fans in the supporters group just don't like the stuff I do. I don't exactly know why. I've never had a face-to-face conversation with any of them. I think the day I realized it was I had a video where I had vlogged the LAFC Sounders game in LA, and big shout out to my friend Connor who gave me pitch side tickets to that game.
That's
so
awesome.
Right next to the Sounders bench, and then I see Brian sitting there, and I was like, oh, let's get Brian in the vlog.
He's coming over. Oh my God! Look, it's the GOAT. He's pulling up. Holy smoke! Brian, I appreciate you.
You're the guy from RGTV.
He knows.
Yeah, but what you said after one of the games I didn't like. Against maybe the Portland game, I don't know. But you're okay. It's okay to be a fan of our team. Thank you.
I love you. Thank you. He knows me. Wow. Wild times. Well,
and then I'm like, Brian, come over here. And I was like, I told him, I was like, I appreciate you. And he's like, oh, you're the guy from RGTV. And I was like, what? He knows who I am. The thing was, though, like a couple weeks before, we lost to Portland at home 3-0. And I had a total rant in my review. Every video from that day went viral. And for obvious reasons. Well, not viral, but did very well. Like, each one hit like 1,000 views minimum.
Yeah.
And for obvious reasons why, because the Sounders lost at home 3-0 to Portland. Like, you already get views from that game, but the fact that we lost and you're just going to get only angry reactions. And Brian saw my review, apparently. Brian saw it, and he's like, he's like, you're the guy from RGTV? And I was like, yeah, like, I was like, he knows me. And he's like, yeah, but I wasn't happy about something you said after a game. And I was like, oh. And he's like, maybe it was the Portland game. I don't know. And I was like, so it is the Portland game. I was like, but like, part of me is kind of like, but what do you expect? Like, we lost 3-0 at home to Portland. Do you want me to be happy about it? Like,
yeah. How many good things can you actually say when you lose like that? And that's the thing I don't understand, right? Is like, and we talked about a little bit about this before the show started, is when it's perceived as negative, it's like, well, how would you like me to wrap this in a positive message, right? Because I'm not putting myself in your shoes, because I don't, and it's the same thing with Hernan from We Are Awesome TV. I would say those are actually like less realistic comments and reactions, because year one, I don't believe any fan should have any complaints. Like, try to support the best that you can. Be okay with like having a standard for your team, and when things go bad, be understanding to a point. But I think, saying, hey, we got to oust this guy year one. He obviously doesn't know what he's doing.
He's done. He's kicked off the island.
Even though we're an expansion team, it's like, dude, like you're competing against rosters and teams who have been building chemistry for years. And do you know how difficult that is to do? And to get any kind of success in season one would be amazing. But the goal is to keep building on those things, which they did. I think for Seattle, I don't know. Do you think maybe the negative reactions came from not just the results they were seeing, but for the first time, probably in the fan base's history, there was someone on the internet who was okay with being realistic about the prospects of the team based on the results that were coming in. And maybe it painted a little bit of reality for a club, frankly, who's seen almost nothing short of just success since the onset.
I think you could be right, too. And it's such a terrible coincidence. The first year I started Rave Green TV, we don't make the playoffs. And knowing some people, they'd be like, we didn't make the playoffs because of you. We didn't make the playoffs because of you. And I was like, shit.
If only you wielded that kind of power.
Yeah, I know, seriously. But I think, too, yeah. And the thing is, too, Brian was really nice. But he's like, oh, I'm just kidding. Like, he didn't say I'm just kidding. I don't know. You can throw in the clip if you want. I could send it to you. But like, he was like, no, I appreciate you supporting the club. And we like along the line, I'm really paraphrasing. Like, we need people like you. And I appreciate you supporting the club. And I was like, oh, I was kind of surprised. Because one, I didn't know he would have, like, I just thought it was just going to be, I was going to have Brian here. I'd be like, I appreciate you. He's like, thanks for your support. And then he's going to just skedaddle, like, go back to the bench, keep writing his notes.
Yeah.
Came up to me and was like, you're Rave Green TV. And then brings up one of my videos. Like it was too many things. Like, he knew who I was. He's watched my videos. And then he was like, I didn't like something that you said. And then he's like, oh, it's okay. Like, just such a roller coaster of emotions. I was kind of wow.
Send me that video. I actually want to see it. And I'm happy. If you're okay with it, I'd love to clip it in. Just, I think it's a strong opportunity to show, like, you know, one, I mean, if you do something long enough and you create content that's captivating, that has substance, that isn't scared to go there if needed, you can legitimately, build something that someone as big as Brian, as the head coach of the Seattle Sounders, would take notice of. You would think someone like that's probably too busy.
I just didn't think he knew how to use YouTube. I didn't think that guy knew, like Brian on a Saturday. Like, I thought Brian's more of a guy that watches the King 5 News and kind of just goes on with his day. I didn't think he was a guy, has his morning cup of Joe, gets on the laptop, he's like, let's look at what people are saying about this weekend's game. He's not like, I didn't think he was that type of dude.
Dude, maybe it's how he checks himself. Maybe he's like, you know what? We've been successful for a little while. Like, let me just go see what kind of shit is out there on the internet. And maybe it's like a dose of like reality, right? It's like, we're not as good as I think. We got to go back to the drawing board. Let's go. I don't know, man. I could totally see some weird motivation shit happening there.
Oh God. I know, dude. As I said, that whole thing was so crazy. And so then most people just thought it was amazing, the interaction. They thought it was funny. They thought it was wholesome, like a good variety of emotions. And then there's just kind of like a few people that were like, oh, even Brian knows this guy's a dickhead. And then became kind of like a thread where the vice president of the ECS started liking anything that was kind of bashing me, where like he's kind of like, oh, this guy's like he's a doo-doo, like this guy's negative. And I was kind of like, oh, so okay, so the supporters group really doesn't like me. So I was like, okay, yeah, I know, it's such an interesting thing. I don't mind. I'm not in the supporters group. And like, thing is like ECS, if you're watching this, I highly doubt it. But if you guys are watching this, dude, I wouldn't mind an ECS shirt.
I wouldn't either, if we're being fair. If we're just throwing, favors out there. Yeah, I think, look, man, it's managing fan reactions and like the especially right after matches, right after L's happen. It is the best time to grab content. You will never have a bigger opportunity to grab the content that you're looking for, but it's just that catch-22, right? Like, how do you juggle that and, capturing those moments so that you can put it on a channel and make sure people see it? How do you juggle that with like the aftermath of that, right?
I know. And that's the thing I've been learning about too. Like, to add on to it is, I think you phrased it really well. Is like, you kind of got to learn, like, you're not going to make everyone happy. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of the toughest thing for me in the beginning, because certain friends were like, oh, why'd you say it like that? And like this, and I was like, that's just my opinion. That's how I view it. Everyone views everything differently, and that's totally fine. Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And like, now I know too that players have told me they've watched I think certain players we've had on have literally admitted I was like, I always ask them at the end of every quickfire question video I did with players. I've done it with so far 6 players. We have more than 6 of the Sounders players following us. I asked them, I was like, what's your favorite thing about Rave Green TV? 80% of them have said the fan reactions.
Yeah.
They said because they're honest. They're honest. And so I was like, now I know the coach and the players watch these videos. Obviously, I can't control what other people say, but, people watch us, and not everyone's going to agree with everything. Not everyone's going to be happy with everything I do. People think I'm a journalist. I'm not a journalist.
Just a fan with a mic.
Yeah, I'm just a fan with a mic, and I just make it look professional, I make it look like it's for real. And then obviously the name comes with it too, Rave Green TV, because the Sounders are known as the team in Rave Green, and like that's part of the thing is like, and you just gotta I've just learned to persevere and like, and that's kind of the dark side of content is not everyone's going to agree with what you say. People are going to say things about you that you don't like and you don't want to hear. And like, obviously it hurts. I'm like, damn, man, you don't even know who I am. Like, how are you going to say this about me? But that's just that's just a natural thing of life. You cannot control the things that you have no control over. You don't need to worry about the things you have no control over. Like it's not the only person you can give control is yourself. And that's all you can worry about. And I just keep making content. If you agree, awesome. Like, and there are people, and that's the nice thing about season 2. Since we started this, a lot of people have been actually and it's so weird and it feels kind of nice. I was like, people are agreeing with what I'm saying now. And I'm kind of like, nice. People are now kind of like, I think I'm starting to find people that like my content more. Because in the beginning, I think kind of like we went out on the gates. Everyone was like, oh, Rave Green TV, this is so new. This is the new shiny toy. And then when things were kind of going how they wanted it to, I'm not saying I was a scapegoat, but a little bit of, like, this is someone we can scapegoat a little bit. And then, like, because of the things he's saying and things and all that. And so now no one's going to agree with everything you say. But I only can have control over what I do, the content that I put out. Not everyone's going to love me. As Ronaldo once said, like I remember there's, like, a Ronaldo quote where he's like, if you sat down and had dinner with me, then you got to know me. But people say all these things about me but don't even know me.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And look, I think that's a great segue into maybe your process, which I want to dig into a little bit more. You know, the things that you can control on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis. You can control how you create the content, how you frame some of the messaging. Dude, let's go into your process just a little bit before we get to icebreakers and whatnot. Your process as a content creator, unlike others that we've had on this show in the past who maybe have a few other resources, a few other people helping them to build not just the channel, but hopefully a broader vision for the content they want to create. Dude, you're somehow doing 2 channels all by yourself as just a very, very passionate fan in this country. So how does that work? Like, how do you manage your time? What do you spend a lot of your time doing? And I think this is going to be a lot of food for thought for those who are aspiring to be maybe, you know, let's call it a Shauyan light, right? Like they want to be like a slightly different version of you. Bro,
sorry.
like,
just phrase that in such a way I didn't expect.
Yeah, man. I mean, I have no other way to put it. Like at the end of the day, like, you know, I think I can see fan reaction channels and even the podcast that you have with Next Gen Football becoming more culturally relevant throughout the sport and throughout the fan base as we continue to move on through the seasons. I think it's the only way you can get the rawest form of the voice of the fans. So for anybody who's thinking about, hey, I live in a market, maybe it's an expansion team market, maybe it's just a market that hasn't been readily served from a content perspective, I want something like this. What does your day-to-day look like? Like realistically, what obstacles are these future content creators coming up against?
Yeah, so this is gonna be a long answer. So I hope everyone's slightly prepared for that. But yeah, so as you mentioned, I run 2 YouTube channels. They are just proper YouTube channels where you make videos, just like anyone else would, like your HRV Zocs, like your Macwells, your Tactical Manager TV. That's what both of them are. With Next Generation Football, so you guys can understand it, the niche of that channel is where I talk about MLS, CONCACAF football, and the Iranian national team. And then Rave Green TV is solely for Sounders stuff. So it's a Sounders fan channel where I produce stuff related and talking about the Sounders. So when it comes to Rave Green TV, it's more of I have to wait on news and games. That's kind of where the time is dedicated to. If you know a game is on Saturday, you should probably have the preview out on Tuesday, Wednesday. You know you're going to be doing fan cams on the weekend. So I try not to put a lot of content into that. And so that's kind of what I do with that. With Next Generation Football, just before we were recording this week was the start of the MLS season. So I had to make, some things are time sensitive. Certain things are time sensitive. So I have to put out videos previewing, predicting MLS. And then if news comes out, then you got to talk about it. Next Generation Football is a little bit more broader. So I have a little bit more time with things, but with Rave Green TV, it's a lot more time sensitive. Sure. And I am just constantly recording like we're doing right now, editing, and then same thing with both of them too, because you also have to run the social medias for it. I make posts sometimes for them. I make reels. I make TikToks, not clips. I'm not quite there yet where I want to make clips of my videos, but maybe graphics or things like what are some trends that are going on right now that fit the niche of what I talk about. Then I make reels, I make graphics, and especially with Rave Green TV, similarly to what Hernan probably talked about in the last video, you got to make news. You got to put quotes out. You got to see what's the hippest way I can put out this news where I know people will send it to him, her, the grandma, the dog, the missus, to whoever. Who are they going to send it to? And so I think, and those are kind of like, I'm just always at home on Photoshop, Premiere Pro, or I'm on OBS recording, and then I work out, and then I eat, and then I go to sleep. And that's pretty much it. And so right now that's my life. And like, if that's something that interests you, you got to go for, like, I think the best way to go at it is plan these things out. I think Rave Green TV has a little bit more of a master stroke in, because I had the experience from Next Generation Football. Next Generation Football has had a lot. So I want the people to know this. It's had a lot of ups and downs, and I wasn't sure what I'm going to do with it. Because I told you early on it was a podcast. And then I transitioned it to a YouTube channel, but it still had the name of like, so early. And even when I transitioned to YouTube, it was still a podcast. And I was kind of like, I don't really want to do a podcast. I just want to make YouTube videos, just talk about certain things. It's too broad. And like, my name was Next Gen Pod. And now now it's a YouTube channel. Now it's where I want it to be. But I've like fallen down so many times with that channel. And I didn't know what my @ should be, what the channel logo should look like, and X, Y, and Z. And so that's what's helped me with Rave Green TV. Where right from the get-go, I was like, Rave Green TV, it's the @ all available. I'm taking it. What's my logo? What's this? Like, I just kind of knew. So, like, just try to plan it out. And if you know anyone that makes content, or you could even ask me, I'll try my best to go through the DMs, because I'm pretty sure I go through every single DM. Sometimes some fall through the cracks because of how things get filtered on Instagram. But
Sure.
Just ask people that make content. Like, just go in it with knowing what you're going to do. What's the objective? What's the niche? How do you want to portray it? Like, and things like that. If you want to make a fan channel, what? LA Galaxy don't got a fan channel. LAFC don't have, well, they kind of used to have a fan channel. They still don't have a fan channel. They're like the biggest market of them all. I'm trying to think about the teams that have one. I guess there's Seattle. There's now Charlotte, who has one. There is Austin. There is Atlanta United Fan TV.
Yep.
They're the biggest one. So big shout out to AJ, because
shout out to AJ.
He is Poppy when it comes to this stuff. He is the dad. And like, there's so many teams that don't have fan channels. Granted, some teams just don't have as big a fan bases. Even your Dallas work, which is in the come up, there's that too. And like, just make it, because then you're so niche. That's the nice part if you do a fan channel. It's so niche that whatever you post will be so relevant to the people, because that's all they're following you for, is for that team. So if you post a video talking about this news, a preview, or this and that, whoever is subbed to you is going to want to watch it, because they're subscribed to you because they want to know more about the team and what's going on, the news. They want to know what people are about to say. What are your thoughts on this? You're like their friend. You're like the guy who's holding them on the shirt, like, dude, it's okay. Don't be mad that we lost. I am mad, and that's what I'm here for. Put it in the comments down below. And so, you know, I think to wrap it up with a bow on top, just know what you're going to do. It's not going to be easy. Find out what are you passionate about. See what the market looks like. Like, look at other people. Like, the reality is with YouTube, everybody copies everybody. Nobody is that original. No one is that guy all the time. Like, if there's someone you like my favorite YouTuber, I'm not subbed to many football channels, soccer channels anymore. I only am subscribed to one FIFA channel because I don't play much FIFA anymore. I used to be big in FIFA, big. I have a great story with that too. I remember when I was in Miami, I got invited by Jimmy Conrad to like a little esports PSG tournament thing.
Oh, wow.
And Marquinhos and Matuidi showed up to it. Yeah.
Well, Matuidi makes sense, but like, dude, Marquinhos, I mean, that's because he played for the franchise, but like, dude, Marquinhos would have been awesome.
I know, it was so cool. You can see them. I have the photos of it still, where I'm getting interviewed by Jimmy and Mike LaBelle. You just see Marquinhos and Matuidi. You just see their little heads on the top there. And I was like, and so, okay, but yeah, I'm only subscribed to one guy, and that's the Irish guy. If you know him, you know him. If you don't, you don't. Used to be on HITC Sport. So I kind of took a little bit of inspiration from him with kind of how I phrase things, how I do things. And like, obviously I've worked with a lot of people like HR Vizok, Macwell, things like that. And I also take a little inspiration from everybody. But then you have your little own twist. At the end of the day, it'll be your own twist. Because there's like, Hernan talked about it, like when he's used to see graphics, edits, things like that on YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest, whatever. He always was like, well, that's kind of missing this little something. Yeah. And then you get to add your own twist to it. And so like, it's okay to take inspiration. It's okay to copy people a little bit. No one's going to care that much. Like, no one's going to be like, oh, dude, this guy straight up copied and took it right out of my playbook. Everyone copied everybody a little bit. Yeah. Your twist will come over time, and just be yourself. Find what you like. Find what the market is. See, and I'm not a businessman. I mean, find the market. Look at just other YouTubers that make similar stuff to you. Add your own twist to it. Then you'll find out what's that missing piece in the market. What's that missing thing that people want to see? And you'll find that over time making videos, kind of like what I do Next Generation Football. It was super broad. I talked about Premier League, La Liga, all this crap, and I was like, I can't do this. And then I saw when I made videos about Iranian national team, about MLS, I was like, people seem a little bit more interested in me when I talk about it because that's more of my passion. It's more of what I watch. It's more of what I know. And also, especially with the Iranian national team, there are no Iranian creators. There's like none. And so it was kind of easy since I spoke about it a lot. Everyone was coming to my channel. So it was really good traction. And then kind of comes hand in hand. There's obviously certain Iranian fans. There's a few that like MLS too. So then you kind of rock the boat. So just find what you like, find what you want to do. This is like, you don't have to be perfect. You are perfect with your video and stuff. You don't have to. Just learn. Just try. It never hurts. As Hernan said, it never hurts to just try. Because if you fall, so what? At least you gave it a go. That's the part of life. That's the beauty of it. What you're doing, what I'm doing, you get to meet some freaking amazing people. You maybe might get some cool opportunities. I've done so many. I've gone invited to so many things. I've been to a TikTokers charity game, not because I'm a big TikToker, was because I knew big TikTokers and I was already in England and they're like, dude, you should come to it. And I was like, okay, sounds good. I sat pitch side at an LAFC game because I knew a guy that did work for LAFC and like a whole bunch of others that I can't think off the top of my head. But like,
sure.
I've been you just never know. Just put yourself out there. Yeah, it's gonna suck. People are gonna be like, oh, dude, why do you have this slit in your eyebrow? Like, who do you think you are? Like, and like people are gonna make fun of you. Like, and so what? Like, dude, come on, man. Like, look at that beard. You look like you're 40 and things like that. And I was like it's part of life. Like, it's okay. Just try. If you really enjoy it. I was camera shy. I was really shy growing up. But now I just don't care about talking in front of a camera, in front of talking to whoever, meeting whoever I want, and saying what is on my mind. Obviously, within certain
reason,
regard,
right? Yeah,
within reason. Yeah.
I get it.
I'm not going to be like if I don't know when Ochoa. Yeah, like obviously not that, but like when Ochoa like absolutely shithoused RSL's win in the playoffs last year, I'm not going to go up to him and start throwing out slurs and things like that to him and all that. But like, you know, if there's someone I really like a football player, and I get the opportunity to meet him, I'm going to tell him how I feel and like how he's inspired me and like the amazing things he's done. And like one great one for me was when I met Danny Leyva. I asked him because he scored a crazy good goal against the Vancouver Whitecaps, and Danny's now a good friend. And he scored a chip from like 35 yards out against the Whitecaps, but it got overruled by VAR because of a foul. And I remember I asked him, that was like one of the first things I asked him when I met him, just right off the cuff. He was like the first ever professional player that gave me the time of day. And that was one of the first things I asked him. I was like, bro, what were your thoughts on when you scored that amazing goal? You celebrated. We all thought it counted. And then VAR said no. Like, what were your thoughts on that? I was kind of curious because we were all down bad. We were really upset because we wanted that count. And then that's what I'm saying. Like, it's okay. Just be yourself. Try your best. Just try your best. That's the finishing part of the story. Try your best because you never know if you don't try. And that's the worst part is if you never try, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. You'll be the worst case scenario. You'll be exactly where you are right now. That is worst case scenario. Yeah. Right now, where you are, you could be exactly there. Because at the end of the day, man, if you try it and you fail, here's the thing: nobody's going to know the difference, right? It's like the first video I'm sure you ever published, or the first video I ever published. It was like, if it doesn't hit, well then you're exactly where you are. Nobody knows who you are. It's fine. Like nobody's making fun of you for it. It kind of is like, all right, learning experience. You make it better for the next one, and kind of move from there.
Yeah, and even if it hits, then you're kind of just known as the guy that, yeah, he messed up in something in his videos. Now you got something that people cling on to you with, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I think you're good. I think that there's very little risk involved other than the risks that people impose upon themselves. And, you know, at the end of the day, if you're that kind of person, let me ask you this. I won't put it out there. I'll let you put it out there. What's the one piece of advice you give to someone who's been sitting on a content idea or a channel idea for like a year plus, but just hasn't pulled the trigger?
Do it. I mean, there's something to it. Just do it. Like, who cares? Like, kind of like, I think the thing I brought up earlier was the Arsenal Fan TV thing. I went to the Arsenal City game. I didn't care. I wore a Sounders jersey. People looked at me. I remember I was in the tube or whatever they call it in England. I was going to the game and some Arsenal fans like, oh, we've got a Seattle Sounders fan across from us over there. He just must be some random guy, a random bloke. And I went to that game and I knew a guy that was kind of buddies with Robbie. Like he was always on Arsenal Fan TV. I asked my friend Quarms, I was like, bro, you need to get me on. It's like, I'll do my best. And then my opportunity came and I just said what was on my head. I said, if Arsenal played the Sounders, they wouldn't win. It's simple as that. I didn't say we would win. I didn't say we would lose. I just said they wouldn't win. And and then recently, which I thought was crazy, I was in the bars in Seattle. I don't normally go out. This was kind of a rare once in a blue moon situation. And this guy came up to me and he was like, dude, you're next generation football. And then the other guy was like, you were on Arsenal Fan TV. And so that's kind of like,
you
and people
said that crazy shit. Yeah.
and people say that to me, and obviously some people said oh, dude, this guy's just making MLS look bad. And there's obviously negative connotations to certain things, but then some people just remember you for it. Just do it. You have nothing to lose. You only have so much to gain. The internet is now the place to build something, to try something. I know, and I really like what you asked is if you're stuck on an idea. The thing is, both my ideas, one was not even mine originally. But Rave Green TV, I maybe sat on it for a month. If you're thinking about it, you want to do it. So go and do it. As I told you guys, I failed so many times in Next Generation Football. It's not even that established of a channel, and it's still in the works. And now I think it's kind of now where I want it to be. Now I understand what I'm doing with it. And just do it. Just try. You learn. That's the part of life. You learn. Obviously it's not going to be a hit from the get-go. Macwell stuff, he used to do FIFA career mode early on, but nobody knows that. And he was at 7K doing that. But nobody knows he used to do FIFA career mode. Yeah. So just do it. You have nothing to lose and so much to gain. Just full send. I told you there's so many opportunities in the world of football. Yeah, you might be an Arsenal fan. It's a little bit harder to compete making Arsenal videos. Well, what's your other thing? In football, there's so much variety. People support various teams from different leagues for X, Y, and Z reasons. Just find where your passion lies. People want to know things more from it, and then bam, you're there. You're in there like swimwear.
Absolutely, bro. And look, people don't remember, too, if you watched Arsenal Fan TV in the earliest days, dude, it only took off because we were a banter club. Because I said I'm an Arsenal fan. It only took off because we were going through this shit. I remember losing 10-2 on aggregate to Bayern Munich in the Champions League. That
and 6-2 to Manchester United.
Yeah, dude, or 8-2. It was 8-2 actually.
Oh, 8-2, even worse.
8-2, even worse. A 6-goal differential. So those were times where just how your channel took off and technically the statistically worst season that the Sounders have had. The success of your channel isn't in any way, shape, or form tied to the success of the club. It can be whatever you want it to be. And that's the beauty of it. And so whether it's a fan reaction channel, whether you want to do more storytelling, it's the reason why I launched this channel. I wanted to meet other storytellers to dig into the workings of their brain creatively and try to understand how they got to where they are now. And I think that hopefully over time, people can start developing either the bravery or just simply, find a way to make the content ideas that they have come to life in any way, shape, or form. So
yeah, and it's a library too of you got the creators before they were famous.
We'll see. If it pans out that way, dude, I will be massively ecstatic.
I'm just kidding. I'm not going to be famous. I'm just saying.
Hey, man, Rave Green TV, whether it's through good times or bad, I think you're on the up and up. So I worry less about how the Sounders are doing and more about how you're doing. But maybe we'll come back to this episode and we'll see if the Sounders were able to, keep the positivity rolling. Right, they had a 4-0 win to start off the season. We'll see how they look by the end of 2023 season and heading into playoffs. I fully expect them to be there. But again, we'll find out. All right, man, Icebreakers, let's do this. It's personal time. I know that we haven't been getting personal on this whole show, but, just some questions that are a little bit off the cuff. They're always the same, too. If anybody goes back and watches some of the recent episodes, they're always the same because I like comparing and contrasting people's responses. So Some of them are soccer-based, some of them are not. We'll just jump in. All right. Favorite club team in the world?
The Seattle Sounders.
Dude, I don't know if you're trolling or not, But
no, it's the truth. It's the truth.
Okay. That's a great response and on brand, so I respect it. Favorite player, individual player of all time. Does not have to be one of the GOATs, by the way. It could be
No,
whoever.
it's okay. I never loved the GOATs. Like, I know Messi's the GOAT, but I never loved Ronaldo or Messi. I was never one of the weenie riders for either of them. For me, I know this is, again, it's not quite answering your question, but I kind of have – so for me, my ties were always – I have a favorite player of all time, but then I also have a favorite player that got me into the sport, and I kind of have a guy that inspired me a lot. And so for me, my favorite player of all time was Fernando Torres. I really love the guy a lot. Yeah, I really love the guy. Freddie Montero is the reason I fell in love with the Sounders. So he's also they're kind of all on the same level. And then Ali Reza Jahanbakhsh, the winger for Feyenoord, who's right there. Yeah, he was kind of my inspiration of being proud to be an Iranian, and Iranians can play football and they can win golden boots. They can be big players, and so he's just kind of a guy. I remember I would always ask my barber, like, give me my beard like him, give me the haircut like him, and like things like that. So
that's awesome.
Kind of there's kind of three players that play a role in that question for me to answer.
Yeah, dude, that last response hit home for me. Like I remember growing up, and I had other like individual players who stood out for me and were reasons why I love the game. But one of the most inspirational ones, I loved the center back pairing together. But when they were at Barcelona, I emulated a lot of what Puyol did as a center back, Carlos Puyol. However, I was way more motivated by someone like Rafa Marquez because not many players go from Mexico to the top flight of Spain and retain their spot for as long as he did. And an injury eventually, like, kind of moved him out and brought Piqué in. But, dude, I remember thinking, like, if he could do it, if he's from the same neighborhoods and cities that me and my parents are from, I can do it. Like that was always my motivation. So, yeah, man, I resonate with your response heavily. All right, man, you mentioned before the show you do have some playing days, right? They could be rec soccer. They could be that, that season of select you played. What's the best goal if you scored? What's the best goal you ever scored?
Wow, I didn't score many goals because I was a right back. Funny story with that. The reason I was a right back was because Stephen Beitashour is a right back, who's the only ever Iranian to play in MLS during my lifetime, so that's why I played right back. The best goal I ever scored, I don't think I scored many. Maybe...
Paint the picture for me. What's the setting? Like, what kind of game is it, and how'd you score?
I guess it'll just be last week because that's the only thing I can think of.
Really recent. Okay.
Yeah, last week when we were playing indoor, I think my only good trade, if I had a FIFA Ultimate Team card, was 5-star weak foot. Oh. It's kind of just the joke. I can use both feet because I had a couple of injuries on my right leg. It's still, my right leg's great. It's still top tier, but my left foot really improved a lot. Last week we played indoor. I was missing so many chances. I even missed a penalty that day. We played 3 games. I missed 3 one-on-ones. I missed a penalty. I was playing terribly that day.
Down bad.
Yeah, and then I got the ball. I just was like, okay, if I'm not going to score and I'm not going to do shit up top, I'm just going to stay back more so at least I can do the team a solid. And I get the ball a little bit above. This is an indoor too. A little bit in front of the halfway line, and I just swing. I cut it to my left foot. I beat a guy, and then it just slow. Like, it looks like time stopped. It just curls and wraps around right into the top corner in indoor, and I was like, wow, I couldn't believe. I was playing so bad that day too. I was like, I missed all these chances, and then I scored that with my left foot. But yeah, that's literally what happened. The team that we were playing was so much better than us, but we were only up 1-0. And then I scored that, and it relieved all the pressure, and we ended up winning 4-0. The team was all over. We played some shit house counterattack style that game, and then I scored that left foot goal, and I was like, Jesus Christ!
Got a little bit of that Rashford and that Manchester United feel to you, right? Just completely against the run of play, and you find a way to get it done. I like it, bro. Yeah. I mean, look, whether it's men's league or rep league back in the day, a goal's a goal, and I love hearing those stories. So that's awesome. All right, Spotify or Apple Music?
Apple Music.
Man, I get a lot more of those lately. People just hate Spotify.
No, I like keeping things consistent. I have a Mac. I have an iPhone. I'll just stick to Apple Music. I don't know. Is there a reason behind why I chose Apple Music? I don't know. I just like keeping things consistent. Yeah,
you're an Apple guy. I love it. I love it. Yeah. All right, if you could have one meal for the rest of your life, or equally, I will take if you were, you're coming up on your last meal, what would it be?
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A for the I can't even knock it, bro. I mean, Chick-fil-A is an S tier fast food restaurant. Like, just godlike. I don't know if anything actually even compares to it on the fast food spectrum. But you would have that as like, what would it be from Chick-fil-A? What would it be, like spicy deluxe?
So it's always my cheat meal, so don't judge me, people. I get 8 Chick-fil-A sauces.
Okay.
I get 1 cookies and cream shake, 1 large fry, 1 small fry, a spicy Chick-fil-A deluxe, and a 12-count nugget.
That's not even bad. I've heard way worse. I've heard way worse. I've been like, damn, you're feeding a family. That really wasn't that. No, that wasn't that bad. That was good.
Okay.
The extra fry, man, that's strategic.
Because I like dipping it in my shake and in this, not together, just separate. I love the fries and shake. I love the fries with the Chick-fil-A sauce.
Damn. I might steal that. All right, we'll come back to that later. All right. Best fast food restaurant near you, and I can validate this considering that I once upon a time didn't live so far away from you.
Best fast food place near me. I'm not much of a
you just said Chick-fil-A, bro. I mean, you can't say you're not much of a fast food guy.
No, I know, but that's because Chick-fil-A's S tier, like we just spoke about. Is Qdoba considered fast food?
Yes.
Okay, then it's Qdoba.
Qdoba? Not Chipotle?
No, well, it's kind of, I mean, it makes more sense to the premise of the question, I guess. The best one near me. Chick-fil-A's a little bit far out. Like, that's it's a little bit of an extra drive. Qdoba's pretty close to me, and that's actually what I eat probably the most if I were to eat out, it's Qdoba.
Yeah, awesome, bro. I love it. TV or movies?
I don't know.
It's a tough one.
It depends on the show and it depends on the movie.
Bro, for me, this is easy. I'm like a
Both?
TV guy. No, man, I say TV because my TV is like just nothing but sports and like YouTube. But
no, I there's certain shows when I really like them, I really like them. But I'm just gonna say both.
Okay, all right, both works. Coke or Pepsi, if you had to pick one.
Neither. I don't drink soda.
But you've never tasted them?
They both taste bum. So no.
Interesting. What's your drink of choice? I mean, you don't drink soda.
Water.
So what is it?
Just water.
That's it? Nothing else?
I don't drink anything else. I don't drink coffee. I don't drink tea. I just drink water.
Damn. Dude, I go ham on coffee. I'm not much of a soda guy either, but I will drink black coffee all day. Caffeine doesn't sit well with me. I like Dutch Bros. When I go to the Timbers games, Providence Park has a Dutch Bros. I quite like getting one little sugary, a little bit of caffeinated drink. I don't know, just Dutch Bros. There's a connotation to it, but no, I don't like soda like at all. Like it tastes so gross to me. Oh my God. Trust me, bro, that is a great way to feel about soda.
Thank you.
AirPods or headphones?
What are we talking about when it comes to headphones?
Like, not necessarily these, right? But like the wired headset.
Huh. I know this doesn't answer your question, but I'm going with the Beats Studio Wireless.
Okay. It doesn't have to be like, Apple specific, right? But like, just like, yeah, like some people they can't stand AirPods because they lose them.
Only reason I have AirPods, they came free with the Mac.
Yeah.
So
they came with my iPhone. I'm like yeah. Cool.
See, then there you go.
I use them for working out. I really don't use them. I don't use them for calls because they drop every now and then, or people hear everything in the background. It's like just way easier to use.
You don't want people to know what's going on in the background. You keep what happens in the background stays in the background.
Or I just don't want to be judged for it. Like, don't blame me for my surroundings, man. There's a lot going on here. Like, let's just talk.
Yeah, man.
Home cooked meal or are you eating out?
Oh fuck. It depends on the meal. If my mom's making Persian food, bro, oh my goodness gracious. But sometimes Chick-fil-A or a Panda Express or even McDonald's. Hits. Oh my God.
They hit different, bro. Sometimes people judge me for like every now and then. I don't have McDonald's that often, but like it's either a really good day or equally a really bad day. And like,
who cares, dude? There's nothing wrong with McDonald's. People are like, McDonald's supersize me and all that. Piss off, man. I don't care. Like, I used to be a chubster. I dropped the weight. I can eat McDonald's. Leave me alone. Like, there's nothing wrong with McDonald's. Just don't eat it. There's nothing wrong with it.
I firmly believe it is like an S tier fast food place.
It is an S tier fast food place. It is like this is the thing. The only problem with McDonald's and why I love Chick-fil-A is they don't have a great dipping sauce. Dude, that Chick-fil-A sauce is the perfect sauce I've ever had in my life. But they have everything else. They have like the Big Mac is fantastic. The fries are great. You can get an Oreo McFlurry, fantastic. Just not a good sauce. That's the biggest problem.
No, my other problem is the fish fillet sandwich. But like outside of that,
oh, you like the Filet-O-Fish?
No. That's my problem.
Thank God. Oh yeah, that's
my problem. Because like with Chick-fil-A, dude, I feel like I was just having this argument with my wife the other day. I'm like, Chick-fil-A, I can't think of a single thing on their menu that I don't like.
They don't miss.
They don't like nothing. Salads, fruit cups, soup bowls, like you name it. Like you could venture away from chicken, and I'm still very satisfied. Whereas like McDonald's could have that Filet-O-Fish sandwich, I won't touch it with a 10-foot pole. There's just no way. There's no way. And even the McRib, I'm like, dude, y'all half-ass this. Like this is
I'm not gonna eat. Yeah, like you gotta know there's a time and place for everything. If you're gonna eat seafood, you're not gonna eat that at McDonald's.
No.
If you're gonna eat barbecue, you're not gonna have. You're there for the burgers or the McChickens. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. When it comes to that part.
100%, bro. 100%. So, I mean, I don't know. Are you leaning towards eating out? Are you a home cooked meal
I
guy?
gotta go with a home cooked meal. A home cooked Iranian dish, bro. It's just nice.
Dude, moms are built different, bro. They really are. Every time my mom like just whips out like pozole or enchiladas like on the fly, I'm like, thank God, bro. Thank God. Seriously. All right. And finally, last two questions. One, where do you want to travel the most? And you're actually one of the few content creators I've had on so far where I feel like you've been around the block, right? Like weren't you at the World Cup?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and before that, you've traveled quite a bit. So, like, I know you've been around, but is there somewhere you haven't been that you're like, dude, I would spend so much to go there?
That is a very, very good question because I'm not sure. Honestly, again, this isn't like a dickhead thing to say, but I've kind of just been everywhere I wanted to go because I know life is short. You should just do it.
Yeah.
Like, I was not a person that bought nice things to myself when I was 16. As soon as I started working, I saved my money because I knew I wanted to go see X, Y, and Z soccer thing in X, Y, and Z country. So I just saved it. I didn't buy nice things.
Yeah.
But so one place I'd want to go. You might have to edit this out. You might have to fast forward it because I need a proper hot second to think about this because I don't know.
No, you're good. I'll tell you where I wanted to go. And I think, what's crazy is we mentioned this. I think other people have mentioned like vaguely the continent, but for me, it's always been like not even just Asia specifically, but Tokyo. Like I want to embed myself so deep into the culture. I want to be culture shocked to a point where I have to figure it out in a way that no other country could force me to figure it out. Right. And so many other countries on the Western side of the world, and that includes Western Europe included, they cater to English speakers. Asia doesn't give a fuck, right? Like it doesn't matter. Like you have to really go there and just kind of figure things out. And I think that we here in the States and North America don't get enough exposure to, probably from a football standpoint or a soccer standpoint, Asian football and what that means. Like it's crazy that when Japan upset Germany, it was such a world shocker. But yet, if you knew the profiles of each of those individual
that game.
players, dude, that game was amazing for numerous reasons. But it's crazy how so many Americans were like, dude, I can't believe that small country beat a powerhouse. I'm like, dude, if you knew the individual player profiles, you wouldn't be that shocked. They play for a good amount of really big clubs, ironically, in Germany. That's what's crazy about it. So I don't know. That was me. Like I could totally see myself saving up a ton of money. Of course, I want to go to. I still haven't been to the Camp Nou in Spain. I still haven't been to. I want to go to OG Highbury for Arsenal reasons. But to the Emirates, right? Like I haven't been to those stadiums, and I want to go. There's a whole bucket list I have. But purely from just a life standpoint, I want to go to Tokyo.
Well, thank you for your insight. I've now thanks to that, you've gauged me with my answer. Again, I'm not going to just give you one because there's two.
Sure.
One will be Japan because I've only been to two countries in Asia being Iran and Qatar.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind going to Japan for anime. I want to just see what it's like there, bro. I want to see the anime life. I want to go to these anime amusement parks. I'm like a semi-big anime guy. Like I watched Naruto growing up before it was cool. And then maybe the other one would be I wouldn't mind going to. I've been to Mexico, but I was a kid. But I wouldn't mind going back to Mexico for a certain reasons.
2026, man, it's coming. You know, and
I wasn't for football, but sure.
But it's a good excuse, right? Like,
yeah, that's true.
If anything, we add that to the list of things you're gonna do down in Mexico. But dude, the culture is embedded into every part of that country, whether you're visiting towns on the outskirts or, super populated Guadalajara or Mexico City. So there's so much to do. But what I love about it is that, football is ingrained. And it's the one thing you will have in common with just about anybody down there. And that's why I've already kind of let my wife know. I've let friends know, like, hey, I'm going to drop a lot of money on the 2026 World Cup. I'm going to go see Canada. I'm going to go see parts of the U.S. I haven't seen. I'm going to go see parts of Mexico I haven't seen. And
you are ready.
I am so locked in, bro. This is, for me, the opportunity of a lifetime. And that's that I have a child on the way. I'm going to have, a son who's a few years older. Thank you, man. A son who's a few years older at that point. And I'll be honest, I don't care. Like, I'm going. Like, it's happening.
That's not what I expected you to say. Oh my God.
I'll be honest, bro. Like,
I feel like, I'm going to make the kid love the sport so much that he has to go.
No.
He's on his own on this one.
No. I think, like, my wife and I talk about it all the time. Like, I don't want to force him to love things that he doesn't, because I feel like my dad didn't do that with me. He loves the game. I love the game because it's what I was exposed to as a kid, and because I love competition, and it's the only way that I knew how to truly be competitive, at least as a kid. I feel like it came natural, and me watching matches, like, I always wanted to turn the fan experience into a player experience. That was always how I absorbed it. But I always thank my lucky stars and to my parents that it was never forced upon me. Like, it was, if anything, American football, because it was so culturally relevant here, was almost way more forced upon me than soccer ever was. And my dad just, we're a diehard Barcelona family, like, generationally, and never once did he let, like, grandparents or anything just come in and, like, have their, it really was, man, like, just me on my own. Like, me, with my Arsenal passion, that was me. Like, there's nobody else in my family who's an Arsenal fan. My dad actually is kind of a Chelsea fan, and so we butt heads. But, like, nah, man, I'm not gonna do that with my son. I think with my son, it's like, he's going to figure it out. If he wants to be part of the game, great. But if not, at least maybe I can at least show him, if he wants to come with, right, and travel, show him what other cultures are like just in general, right? And that could be the education part. Along the way, we'll see some pretty cool matches. We'll meet a shit ton of people, and we'll just see where it goes.
And you learn a lot when you go to different countries and you learn different cultures. It's literally the truth.
It's eye-opening, man. Like, you're in your own little bubble until you go out there and start exploring, and then
until you're the little man in the speck of the random city or place that you're at. Yep.
Yeah, when nobody knows who you are, nobody gives a shit what you do, where you end up, and you're just kind of have to figure it out for yourself. I think that's the only way that you really get to see who you are as a person and what you're all about. So that's what I'm most excited about. I didn't want to paint this picture that, like, hey, F that kid, I'm not taking him with me. It's just it was just like, look, man, I know I'm dropping some serious cash on that tournament, and I'm gonna travel a shit ton. And
you're doing it for real.
Yeah, 100%.
Me, I'm still indifferent about 2026. I don't know what I'm gonna do for that. I'm still kind of like 2022 happened. I'm good. It depends.
I mean,
on
you went. So I have yet to go to a World Cup.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, if it's going to be in my backyard, there's literally no excuse.
Yeah.
Just go. Like, now I can't use the travel excuse, right? It's like, just go and have as many experiences as you can. So that's where I want to be. And I don't know, man, I think if you want to go to Mexico, that's a great excuse. But even if you don't, plenty of really cool shit to see.
I know.
Finally, if money wasn't an object, and maybe you kind of answered it, maybe you didn't. You don't buy material things. But I don't know. Let's say you become a giant content creator. Money's not an object. You can do and say whatever the hell you want to do. What are you buying?
What am I buying? Oh my God!
Are you buying, a club? Like, I don't know. I've heard some people ask this question, dude. I would buy a football club in my home country. I would, who knows, man? You go the LeBron route and open up a bunch of schools or something in your hometown. Like, I don't know. Is there something? It doesn't have to be materialistic. It could be an experience, but it's something that you always wanted to maybe drop a lot of money on.
Wow, that's a question. Can you repeat it again for me? If money wasn't a thing, what would I do?
Yeah, what would you spend the money on, right? Or is there something that you feel like, hey, you know what? like, you know, you hear about guys like Sadio Mane, for example, right? And then you don't follow, you know, his departure from Liverpool, and you're watching this. I mean, the guy literally, as soon as, you know, he had the opportunity to do so, went and opened up, you know, schools, a hospital, you know, all kinds of other resources that his home village just never had when he was coming up. And he's kind of giving back in that way. You know, if you follow traditional sports, LeBron opened up the I Promise School, and he's giving scholarships away every single year. I mean, those are really cool things and initiatives. But sometimes, you know, people just like, hey, I've always wanted to have this experience, and it was never possible when I had nothing. So I don't know. It could be literally anything. But I'm just kind of curious, if you didn't have bills to pay and you had all the money in the world, what's the first thing you're buying?
So I think I'm fortunate enough to have everything I want. I'm a very simple guy. I don't really, as long as I can make videos, I can watch football. So as long as I have my subscriptions, I'm pretty good. I really like the first examples you gave me. So I think the one thing I'd do if money wasn't a problem is I'd reinvest in the Iranian footballing academy and system in Iran. Like, I'd redevelop the Azadi Stadium. So many stadiums are run down in Iran. Yeah. The academy system is like so bad. And like, I'd invest in that. I'd put money into the stadiums to renovate them, to help develop these academies. So there's just more promising Iranian footballers. So that's what I would do with the money. That's awesome, bro. Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think kind of similarly, you know, I would turn around and I don't know, like I'm actually, it's really interesting. I'm immensely passionate about helping young people, only because when I was growing up, I had zero resources, and it was so fucking hard. It was just ignorance. It can be the downfall of any one human being. And so just not knowing enough, not having enough knowledge or information. And I see kids going through the path that I went through, right? Club soccer, college soccer, playing the game, paying a shit ton of money to do it when it wasn't necessary if you know what you're doing, if you have the information. So, you know, I think it's cool when people have answers like that. So that's why I asked the question. But that's it, man. Shauyan, we did it. We got to the end. We are here. Look, man, before we wrap up, I definitely want to give you a really quick opportunity to, I don't know, spotlight anything you're working on. I know you took a little bit of a break from your channels, but you're a couple weeks in now to bringing those back to life and really kind of, you know, getting content out, pumping it out in epic fashion. I don't know, man. Any teasers, anything you want to shout out before we wrap up? No, just go check out GOLZtv. There's nothing I really want to shout out. Everyone at this point, if you've watched this deep, you already know where you're gonna go if you want to find more of me. Just watch GOLZtv. That's what you need to be doing in your life. I appreciate that, man, sincerely. And look, we're gonna link Next Gen Football's channel as well as the Rave Green TV channel down in the description notes below. So again, guys, like I mentioned before, that content is coming to GOLZtv soon. Be sure to check that out. But if you haven't already, like the video, sub to the channel. The free support goes a mile. I really can't thank you enough. And we're looking forward to the next episode of Box to Box. But until then, again, take care of each other and keep supporting the beautiful game in this country. I can't say that shit enough. The only way we're going to grow this thing is if we really build a community around it. And it takes guys like myself, like Shauyan, like you, to really put the message out there. So thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.